Knightline is brought to you by the Dever Team, your source for New Smyrna Beach real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Go to www.thedeverteam.com and call UCF alumni Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach needs. 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636.
Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios, and this is Knightline 197 from the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. Joining me, as always,
Trylko. Hello, everyone. We have the latest from UCF football preseason camp, one-on-one exclusives with special teams coordinator Nick Toth and kicker Dylan Barnes. We're going to find out how legendary UCF men's basketball head coach Torchy Clark helped recruit Mike Stapp as our celebration of 40 years of UCF football continues with Jeff Allen's one-on-one with the running back. And if UCF loses a game or two, shudders, which is the most likely opponent? That in Ask Knightline. But first.
No. Wait a second. That was the wrong. I think that was the wrong music. I kind of struggled this week not finding something to use for this. But you know what? I got something that'll get everybody a little bit fired up. There's nothing better than football season and this right here. I hope nobody crashed their car from doing the UCF, letters or screaming at the top of your lungs, UCF Knights. There's nothing that just that hearing that moves my soul. I'm ready. Okay. I'm so ready after hearing that.
17 days.
Oh man. This will be some of the longest 17 days ever, as far as I'm concerned.
You're in the home stretch now before the opener coming up.
I'm ready. I am fully ready. Well, almost ready. I've still got some stuff to do, but we're getting there. All right, well, you did it, Night Nation. Monday, UCF announced that season tickets are sold out for 2019, all 28,000 of them.
First time ever for UCF.
But they didn't do it last year? I thought for some reason they did it the last year as well.
Close, but not quite. So I thought the interesting part of the news release was Athletic Director Danny White's quote in that release. Have you read it?
I read parts of it. I guess I didn't get to that.
We're confident that capacity crowds will become routine at Spectrum Stadium, and that suggests we need to be forward-thinking in terms of assessing what the options are to expand.
All right,
said White. The topic of expansion isn't new, but we feel some urgency to figure this out because of the growing demand in the community, and most importantly with our students. We unfortunately had to turn away thousands of students at the majority of our games last year, and we expect that number to grow this season. A 12,000-seat student section is just not big enough for the largest undergraduate enrollment in America.
I got a couple words for Danny White here. This is all that I really have to say about that. Danny, build it and they will come. I guarantee it. Build it and they will come. You can fill it with the student body if you can't fill it with anybody else, but I don't think you're going to have a problem with it.
So the official capacity, as listed in the media guide, as I confirmed on Monday, 44,206. This is with some of the changes in the cabana.
They keep making it smaller.
Makes it easier to create that waiting list. But now you have a waiting list for tickets. And That's all good.
Do they
in and
build
of
that
itself.
waiting list for a couple of years, though, or do they just go ahead and say, heck, add the third level?
Still got to see what happens when you lose a game or 2 or 3 or 4, and whether those crowds are there, or they keep this run going for the long time.
I think they keep this run going and build it. Build it. I can't wait to see that stadium hold 60 or 70,000. I can't wait.
I mean, every time you think back to the Peach Bowl and then the success in 2018, and I brought my Sports Illustrated this week.
Yeah.
It's funny to see UCF in Sports Illustrated listed 15th in the magazine with a full page write-up. I mean, how long I've been getting this magazine, looking at this magazine to see UCF with its own full page. By the way, there was another part in there that I thought was interesting. They're talking about coaches on the move. When the coaching carousel spins again, these 5 will be prime candidates for the top openings.
Here we go.
And they list Josh Heupel.
Well, shocking.
But it was interesting what they were. He followed a winding path to UCF, but after one season in Florida, Heupel is well on his way to correcting any lingering notion that he might have been responsible for the Oklahoma offensive downturn that got him fired from his alma mater after the 2014 season. Heupel hasn't stayed anywhere long, rising from Utah State's offensive coordinator.
He hasn't also been a head coach
to
anywhere.
Missouri's to this first head coaching job. And if he can keep up what he did last fall without star quarterback Mackenzie Milton, he will get looks.
He'll get looks. I don't see him going anywhere personally. I think he loves it here.
We don't need this, dude.
Yeah,
we don't need
that. But of course, with success comes crap like that. It is what it is. But right. I think he genuinely loves his job here. And I don't think he goes anywhere for a while. I don't. I think there's a lot of things that would keep him here. His kids are young, number one. So I'm sure that they love where they live now. I think that he would want to possibly see Mackenzie come back after all this. So I don't think that that's going to be a worry anytime soon.
So many questions 17 days out. We won't make that one of them.
You know what? I was looking at videos and stuff today, and I kind of trying to find some music. Like I said, we were kind of struggling trying to find something. And I got on YouTube and I rewatched the opening to game day last year, the Cincinnati game. Unfreaking believable, that game. That game, just the environment in that stadium was insane.
Rockin'.
It was insane. I hope that we get to see that, more and more every year. Because, I don't think there's any better feeling than that. Imagine if that stadium held 60,000 people, though.
One day.
Or more.
One day.
Yeah, so I'm with them. I think they should do that.
So 17 days.
Oh, boy.
Till FAMU. We're recording on Monday night, so that gave us an opportunity to catch the Monday media availability, which was good, and see a little bit of practice. I'll tell you what, you get 3 to 5 seconds of a quarterback completing a pass or misfiring, and it blows up.
Because that's all that people see.
Well, that's really all we see, too.
Yeah.
You get 15 minutes in there. There are 7 media availabilities, or 8.
Well, you saw 15 minutes of whatever was going on in there, and then the people see 1 or 2 throws, and then, that's the most exciting thing that they've seen in a while.
And, of course, the stuff that UCF puts together is all well-produced, much better videography than I can produce. But they also make sure you see the very best stuff.
Well, of course.
The completions.
They're not going to show you fumbling the ball.
So you don't get to see any of the misfires.
There's obviously
Got to
some.
tell you, Night Nation, I've got no dog in this fight. I don't care who wins this quarterback job. I trust Coach Heupel and staff will put out the best person for that position. I show a Brandon Wimbush in completion, and then the people saying that I'm in the Dylan Gabriel camp. I have not chosen
a politician, Trace. You should be a politician.
Not chosen a camp. Then somebody said, well, you haven't shown enough Quadri. We've had Quadri on, and we've featured him in the show.
And then I'm on the Dylan Gabriel leader of the bandwagon, supposedly.
Well, I think that there is some truth to that. Don't you think?
Well, I don't know if I'm the leader. I want the story. I want the story of a freshman beating out the senior transfer.
How about Monday news that University of Miami, has announced that the freshman quarterback will start against the Gators in week 0 here in Orlando.
And that was news, right?
That's a bit of
So
news.
there you go. Wouldn't you? The story is the freshman quarterback beating out the grad transfer, a transfer from Ohio State. So just think if Dylan Gabriel beats out Brandon Wimbush, who's this, supposedly this storied quarterback, and leads us to another undefeated season.
Would be
Imagine
quite a story.
that. It would. It would be awesome. Mackenzie gets hurt. His buddy comes here and takes over.
So what I can tell you, 17 days out, is that I saw Daryl Mack Jr. still in a walking boot this Monday as we record.
How many weeks has it been since that happened?
4 or so, I guess. I have to do back the math on that.
So
And,
6 to 8 weeks is the expected,
but still
thing
in
for a broken
the walking
ankle.
boot.
Yeah.
And then Saturday practice, you saw a video of Mackenzie Milton tossing the ball. He, of course, in the brace. By the way, Daryl Mack, congratulations. I understand that he and his lady have had their baby.
Yeah.
So a welcome addition to the Mack family. So
no
he's-
UCF press release on that one.
maybe
Kinda
they-
surprised.
Maybe they just keep that.
No, but
Private.
all that's cool. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. I mean, I'm just ready to go. I'm ready to quit speculating about this quarterback thing.
Well, I don't see
I was
Coach
thinking
Heupel
that-
coming out at the next media availability announcing anything.
I live in Sanford and I work in downtown, so I have like 2 hours a day that I'm in my car driving. That's a lot of time to think. It is. Yeah. So I was thinking on the way home, I knew that we were doing this show tonight. Normally I don't have that drive, and I was just thinking, man, won't it be great to quit speculating and talking and just talk about football? I can't wait. I mean, although we're in the job of speculating, this is what it's all
put
about.
us out of business here with this.
This is what it's all about. Yeah. It's about speculating and the stories leading up to the whole thing, but I'm ready for the whole thing to just go. It's going to be over before we know it, unfortunately, but I'm ready for it to get going. We do have most of the sound that I have today is from actually the weekend sound, because on Saturday they had a scrimmage, which is pretty cool. So let's hear from Heupel, his opening statement basically after that Saturday scrimmage.
Well, it's productive. I thought defensive line did a great job of being disruptive, playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage. I think we're probably deeper on that side of the ball up front than we were a year ago. Still got to have guys take more ownership in the roles, but I like the direction that they're heading. I thought the quarterback play, which everybody's going to be interested in, was really solid most of the day. Had one turnover. Other than that, they were pretty sound in their decision making. Guys had multiple touchdowns on the day. I thought they threw the deep ball really well, Brandon in particular, on the deep ball. So a ton to learn from. There's a lot of situational football in that. Learn how to play on third downs, learning when to pull back on the tempo a little bit. Some coming out situations and some overtime ball. So, for our entire football team, but quarterbacks in particular, a lot of things to learn from.
I think Heupel there had a little bit of speculation that people might want to hear about the quarterback situation. I don't know why. I don't know where he would get that from. All right, well, somebody asked him what he wants to see in the quarterback battle.
I think we got to be more consistent with our accuracy of the football. They've been pretty sound in their decision making with all the different looks that we're seeing on the other side of the line of scrimmage, but still need to become better as far as that too. Who our keys are and us getting to the right receiver on time with the football. Individually, there's little things that they all got to work on. I thought for the most part they handled the tempo with which we play pretty well. I thought, certain parts during the scrimmage they could have helped increase and forced and pushed the tempo. Sometimes that just means getting your 5 guys moving to the football after a big play and getting them aligned so you can move on to the next one.
All right, and this next one is my Heupel highlight of the week. It's my favorite Heupel clip from the week. Someone asked him when he's going to name a starting quarterback.
When someone takes a hold of it and truly defines that he's the guy, it'd be great to name a guy now, but you never name him before he takes ownership of the job. He's got to go out and prove it in front of the 10 other guys, but really the other 109 guys here in camp, that he's the guy. I think that's important that they go through that process.
And that could be into the season.
I'm not going to put a timetable on it. We'll name us. There will be a starter, week one. Someone's going to run out there with the ones, first snap of the offensive play of the year.
That might probably safe to expect them when one quarterback could get some snaps in game.
I don't think it's fair to say anything right now other than we got a competition. They're going to continue to grow. Hopefully limit the number of mistakes that they make every day, get better, become a really sound decision maker, and be really accurate with the football. You put all those things together with athleticism and the skill set that we have on the offense side of the ball, plus the maturity that we have up front. I think we've got a chance to be pretty explosive.
Do you think that he practices this stuff? Because he's pretty good at going completely around the point.
You sometimes forget the question you ask when you listen to his answer.
He's answering these questions, though. He knows everybody wants, this is the question of the entire thing. He knows that.
If this were clear-cut, and it could be.
It's not.
If it were clear-cut.
Maybe it is.
17 days out, do you think he would name a starter? As Miami has done in advance of its game in Week 0 against the Gators.
I guess if he found a reason to do it. The only reason to do it would be to stop the speculation. I guess if it was clear, I don't know.
So, Mr. Speculation, is it your opinion that Brandon Wimbush has not won this job?
Yes. Yeah, I don't think that he has, personally.
Do you think, though, that it's best for Quadri and Dylan and Brandon to continue to be in that quarterback battle? I mentioned that just because defensive line coach Shane Burnham was talking about how they shuffle this around. They mix up the ones and the twos. They change the depth chart. They keep everybody on their toes, stay competitive, be hungry.
It's different with the quarterback, though, because you heard Heupel talk about how the quarterback needs to be the leader and how he needs to convince the 109 players that he's the leader. The quarterback is the leader of the entire team. I don't care what you say. The quarterback should be the leader of everyone.
So what changes in 17 days that hasn't been decided halfway through
I know that
preseason camp or spring?
They're having another scrimmage tomorrow, I believe, right?
I'm not sure the date of
I think it's
scrimmage.
tomorrow. It's either tomorrow or Thursday. I can't remember which one it is, but they're having more scrimmages.
So some guy is going to get this job, as he mentioned, but they've suddenly won over the team?
It can happen, and you can say one thing. You can do one thing on the football field and win over the team. You can make a spectacular play or not make a spectacular play and win over the team.
So at the next media availability, if Coach Heupel says there's still not separation,
I don't think that you're not going to know. We're not going to know anything until the player runs on the field and takes the first snap. Personally, you're not going to know.
Is it possible, Mr. Speculation, that Dylan Gabriel starts the FAMU game and still Brandon Wimbush is a key factor, that he could go with Dylan?
Or it could be the opposite. It could be Brandon Wimbush that takes the first snap, and then he sucks during the game, or vice versa. But I don't think that we're going to know anything until whoever runs out on the field. In fact, he may have two players run out on the field and one run back. He's done it before. So why not? Why would you?
Just run all three of them out there.
Heck yeah.
Quadri toss a pass to Brandon, and
why not?
Just drive everybody crazy.
I think it would be classic Heupel if he did that. He did it. Crazy. He did it with that one game that McKenzie didn't start before he got injured.
Mm-hmm. ECU.
So yeah, and that was exciting. We were all biting our fingernails because some of us knew that McKenzie wasn't playing, and we were like, okay, what's going to happen? Is he playing or not? This is kind of, it was kind of cryptic that we all found out. A lot of us found out, not everybody. So I wouldn't put it past him at all. I think that he likes to keep people thinking, and when that depth chart gets released, it could say or.
It's going to have some ors on it.
Yeah. With three quarterbacks, I bet you anything. It's going to be interesting. All right, well, here's what he had to say about, let's go with Dylan Gabriel first.
He's a different player than he was in the spring. Through the first 8 days and today being the 9th, he's grown in understanding being able to talk back, rewind what he's seeing and why he's making a decision. That's really important. I think at the quarterback position, when they come off the sidelines, they can talk you through what their decision-making process was. And as long as it's reasonably sound, then they're putting themselves in a position to be successful. I thought he did a really good job of, plays where it's not right based on, a look, a coverage, a pressure, checking and getting us into the right play. And for a young guy, I think that speaks a lot to his understanding of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Read between the lines, my friends. Read between the lines.
Mr. Speculation.
All right, since we don't talk nearly enough about Quadri Jones.
Well, apparently
or
not,
show
to
video.
everybody's liking.
Here we go. Next, Josh Heupel talking about Quadri Jones.
I thought he was really sound in his decision-making and fundamentally was probably his best day as far as just getting his body in the right position with what he's seeing on the other side of the line of scrimmage. He's continued to progress as a young guy inside of our program every phase that we've been in. Extremely confident and knowledgeable in what we're doing right now.
All right. Well, it sounds like he's pretty high on Quadri Jones as well. And now what he has to say about Brandon Wimbush.
When you get out in scrimmage situations, he was really comfortable playing inside the stadium and, the competitive nature of that day, where you're on the sidelines watching the other guy go and try to make a drive, and then how do you respond to it? When a bad play happens, how do I respond the next play? And playing that position, and it's true of everybody on the football field, you got to have a memory that is pretty short. You got to move on to the next play and play that play independently of anything that's happened prior.
All right, read between the lines, folks.
You like doing this. You like firing people.
I do. Yeah. It's fun. I like it. It's my job.
It's when I get blasted on Twitter.
Well, they're not.
This guilt by association with you. And then other people, no, I think that's Andrew that's championing one cause over another.
I explained it at the beginning of the show, so if you missed it, rewind and you'll hear my explanation of why I really want Dylan Gabriel. I wanted Mac. Really, Mac was the guy that I wanted to win the job. So once Mac was out of this situation, then I had to pick somebody else. So why not pick the guy that would be the Cinderella story? Everybody loves the Cinderella story, right? Mm-hmm. That's why there was Cinderella, the movie, or the book, or whatever the heck it was first. Cartoon, book, movie. It's been all of it. So, all right. Well, there's other people out there, though, besides these quarterbacks, believe it or not. There's quite a few.
You're kidding.
There's quite a few other battles, and there's some guys that I particularly like this clip, actually, that I'm going to play next. He's talking about a guy that a lot of people think was not used properly last year.
How do you see Otis Anderson's role evolving this season?
Man, a guy that's dynamic in the return game, right? Does a great job, runs routes like a wideout. Came out to one-on-ones. I think it was day 2, and he's taking reps in it in every day, but day 2, just was super crisp. Just really like what he's done there. At the running back position, he has grown into a dynamic playmaker, a guy that does a great job of taking our double teams to the second level and understanding our schemes, pressing the line of scrimmage extremely well, has great vision. Everybody knows he's got great speed, right, and out in the open is a dynamic playmaker, but just his versatility is something that I'm looking forward to seeing this year.
Do you like the way you utilized him last year?
I think there's ways for him to continue to grow inside of what we're doing. There were a lot of things that we had game planned for him certain weeks that maybe we didn't get to, one because of the scoreboard, or two, there's some weeks where all of a sudden he was nicked up in his role during the course of the week. You were really uncertain heading into to game day.
I think that he's gotten a little bit better at answering questions.
I do have to give him his due on that. He dances around the quarterback topic, but there have been other times, and I asked him questions about special teams at one of the media availabilities we ran on Knightline Now, and he answered that question as well.
Well, it's interesting because that clip happens to be coming up next, or a clip like it. This was what he had to say after the scrimmage.
9 days in today, right? But 8 days through the scrimmage. I think Dylan's been really pretty consistent in his field goals. I like where he's at. Barski's been kicking the ball extremely well on his kickoffs in particular. He's continuing to fight for the field goal job. The punting competition is real, and I'd like to get through the next scrimmage before we probably name a guy in that room.
Now, he was not talking about Dylan Gabriel kicking field goals.
You probably want him to do that,
Well,
too.
hell yeah. I mean, if he can kick field goals, put him out there for that, too. He was talking about Dylan Barnes, though.
Who we have the one-on-one coming up with soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who is, what is he? He's an upperclassman now.
Redshirt senior.
Is he? Okay, he's a senior. I wasn't sure. He's been around. You haven't seen him.
No touches in 2018.
Yeah, haven't needed to have another kicker because we had a dang good one. So, yeah, we're going to have that later. But, he said that he's doing better and looking good. So it sounds to me like he may be the guy that's kicking field goals, and then Orbowski is going to be the kickoff kicker.
Well, I'll tell you what. Big kid, powerful leg.
Yeah.
Powerful leg. Young. Oh, my goodness, young.
I think if you get a kicker like that in behind an upperclassman that you have that can do the job, then he gets to, kind of get his leg even stronger on those kickoffs. Kickoffs is a big deal. You want to put as many of those things out the back of the end zone as you can. And if he has the leg that we've heard that he has, he can probably put most of them out of the end zone.
Well, the way you mentioned that, I spoke with some folks at preseason camp, some team folks, and they say that he is booting the ball out of the end zone. Now, that's not a promise he's going to do it during games. Right. That's practice, but they like his powerful leg. And so you might eyeball him for kicking off, certainly.
Well, once that adrenaline gets flowing out there and you really connect on the ball the first couple of times out there, I guarantee it, he's going to have a little bit more energy in that leg as well. All right, well, that does it for our clips for just a little while. So
we got more.
Yeah, we got more.
Including some from the Monday media availability to shift a little bit to the defense and talk about that.
We're going to talk about defense later.
Defense.
Yeah.
Something you talked about and you led with on last week's show. I know there's thousands, tens of thousands of people that listen, but just to repeat, Knightline Postgame Live has new home.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, we can talk about that. Yes, it will be at the Oviedo Brewing Company
for
road games.
Yeah.
And then in the softball lot for the home games, we're going to have a little party out there, a post-game party, not only Postgame Live, but Knightline, the post-game party as well. And I expect each and every one of you to come out there to our tailgate
All of
after. But it'll be out there, and it will be able to have audience interaction in both places, at the Oviedo Brewing Company and in the tailgate, in the softball lot where we tailgate. I still do not know where we're having that, where that's going to air, though. We're still working on that. I keep trying to get some information, and I'm having difficulty.
17 days.
I know. This is the one thing that I have left to stress about. So I'm trying to find out. So that'll be a surprise, I guess. I hate for it to be a surprise.
Well, hopefully
I'd like
you'll know soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to know any time here if you're listening. Anyway.
Well, we will get the word out in all our social channels. We may have to do a breaking news Knightline Now or something to make that announcement in between shows.
Yeah,
and
something.
all of that.
I don't know. Yeah, we got to do something.
Which, of course, is a good reminder to follow the Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter at UCF_Knightline. I was busy posting video clips, more video clips than photos. So there's a lot of content. Again, we only get 15 minutes, and UCF, they do a great job, but they're going to give you all the best highlights, well edited with music and graphics. And I'm going to give you some shaky video of quarterbacks throwing, but you won't see that anywhere else.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
I didn't claim to be a good video guy. It's a little hard for me with a phone, especially when I'm in the end zone and the quarterbacks are thrown at you, and I got to kind of pay attention to where the wide receiver's catching the ball. I don't want to get knocked over.
Yeah, you need one of the. I need to get you like a little gimbal for your phone where it takes the shakiness out. It might work. They're expensive though, so we'll see what we can do.
So more camp reports. You can find all the archives on knightlinesports.com. So bookmark that site, go visit, check out archives and all of that. couple other football notes. What do you think of this? CBSSports.com out with bowl projections.
I love it.
Do you like preseason bowl polls and bowl projections?
Not really, but I like this scenario right here.
Do you?
Yeah. I mean, UCF versus Michigan in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, except if it's the national championship game, which this may be. You never know.
I'd like to avenge that loss up in Ann Arbor.
Yeah. Well, that would be a good game, I think.
And, of course, Fan Fest coming up Saturday, August 17th. Doors open at 5:30. Events getting underway. They're in the arena and trying to avoid any chance of inclement weather.
Oh, okay.
And also, there's so much work still going on around the stadium.
Yeah.
A lot of work with the expansion of the cabanas, pressure washing the stadium. I try and get some of that video and upload it as well.
You put a picture up today of the tower, though, and there was some stuff missing.
Yes.
I think they're painting is what it looked like.
Where it says national champions. The word champions was missing.
It just says 2017 national.
Yeah.
And then it was missing a bunch of other dates on there.
So I think there's some sprucing up that's going on there. And the stadium's going to have a bit of a different look come home opener on the 29th. That whole expansion, there seems to be a bit of a party deck going on above the cabana.
Yeah.
I believe...
I think they're supposed to have vendors up there this year.
Well, I believe that part will look good on TV. Anybody up there or underneath inside the cabana will not be in their seat. So again, you're going to see a lot of empty gold seats as you have in the past. But
that whole area is packed. I mean, I've been in there a bunch of times lately during games, and that area is packed. You walk up on the the area where the tall tables are and stuff, and you can stand. That place is just, I can't really use the term that I like to say, but it's tight in there. We'll say that.
Well, this would be a good time for us to go to a break, because I'd like to know what word you were going to use. Ahead, we are going to get the latest on the kicking battles, and more of the best UCF talk you'll hear anywhere continues in a moment. We've got some sound from the defensive side of the ball, and more from preseason camp as that rolls along for you next.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline and Knightline Postgame Live. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
All right, a few more clips to play you here. One came from Shane Burnham today, the defensive line coach, and he talks here about maybe some things happening by committee a little bit.
I still think we're pretty firm at the end with, Randy at the rush and Brendan at the end spot. Developing depth behind those guys. I think we mentioned Landon Woodson's had a good camp. I've been pleased where he's coming back from his knee. Been really pleased where he's at. Still just trying to establish more depth behind those two. At tackle, I felt this way. It's going to be by committee. I don't know who that committee is yet. I think Kenny Turnier's had a pretty solid camp. I think Mason's been steady. And then again, trying to find just the other 3-4 guys that we feel like we can play. But I think that position this year is going to be by committee, maybe more so than last year when it was really those 3 guys, Joey, AJ, and Tristan. So where we're at, we're still trying to figure it out. But I'm pleased. I think guys certainly mentally know the defense better than we did this time 2 weeks ago. And then physically, we're making small gains every day.
All right, well, that says it all right there.
How concerned are you with that soundbite?
I'm okay with it. I mean, committee is what defensive line is anyway. I mean, they rotate constantly. So, I mean, I guess he just feels like everybody's fairly even and not...
Well, he said that in another clip as well, where he said there's not a lot of difference between the ones, the twos, and the threes. He says, I don't know what to make of that at this point. That's either a good thing or not a good thing.
Yeah, well, we're going to find out pretty quick. I mean... I'm not worried nearly as much about FAU or not FAU, FAMU.
Well, then FAU.
Then FAU. I'm not so worried about those guys. I'm worried about Stanford,
who likes to pound the ball.
Yeah, and stuff like that.
Well, in that Sports Illustrated preview, they list the big story, the can't miss, and the key question. The big story was the quarterback position.
Right.
The key question...
Really? That's the big story?
But the key question was the Knights need to do a better job stopping the run. Last season, they allowed opponents an average of 223 yards rushing per game, number 117 in FBS.
Yeah.
So,
and you remember what happened during our championship game.
Yeah.
We almost got our butts handed to us in that game with them shoving the ball down our throat. They scored, 5 touchdowns or something like that in a row.
Coach Burnham also
seemed like 5.
Said something about having confidence that the offense is going to put up a lot of points, which... If you're reading into that.
But I've said a million times.
He hopes the team wins 50-30, even if they give up 200 yards rushing.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't want to give up 200 yards rushing. It's not good. All right, well, here's what Martinez said. Coach Martinez said on. He mentioned a guy that we haven't heard about very much, Aaron Robinson, and he's a guy that has been around for a while and really hasn't. I mean, we haven't heard about him a lot, so he's talked about him here real quick.
Every year it's a different team, even though you might have some guys returning and stuff like that, it's a different team. But, Causey wasn't even starting until the 4th ball game, full time. So we were still trying to figure out who was it going to be. And he was the most consistent guy at the time that started coming on. And so, again, Aaron's an older guy that's getting an opportunity here and he's really had a really good camp, to see him execute the defense now from that position and going from corner to nickel. He's done a really nice job starting in spring and now in the fall. A lot more ahead than he was a year ago, even at the corner position.
Yeah, so he was talking about more using him as a nickel guy, which is an important position as far as, coverage goes when you run a nickel package like that. So that's backs up those linebackers to do other stuff. So the other thing that he really talked about here was there's a safety battle going on for the other safety, not the one that Richie Grant holds down, obviously, but the other safety.
Antoine Collier and Jordan Hayes, and it's been a great competition. And we got some other guys too, whether it's Derek Gaines or Jermaine McMillan and but it's been really good. I mean, Jordan's got a lot of experience coming in, but Antoine's really improved his game from a standpoint of fundamentals and technique, football position. The things that he was, not as good a year ago or 2 years ago has really done. He's taken a step in the right direction, and so it's great competition, and we just want to keep on doing it because we need more guys to play.
All right. Well, yeah, there's all kinds of noise in that one, too.
I thought of you during one of the interviews. We're inside the field house, and they roll open those loud doors.
Notice I didn't use that
use
clip.
One of those, but yeah. I just started laughing.
Kids screaming and running around.
What kind of families were in there
That's
today?
good, though.
I saw Mrs. Milton, Mackenzie's mom, was in there with a lawn chair.
Cool.
And the kids, all sorts of kids were running around.
Good. I think that's a good thing to have around especially the coach's kids, man. What an environment to grow up in. That would be awesome. All right, well, that does it for the clips.
I like both of those coaches a lot. They answer your questions pretty directly as well.
Yeah. Burnham is just a normal dude. Just a normal old guy. So I guess Martinez pretty much is too, but there's guys like Levy on the staff and even Heupel. Heupel's really just a normal guy.
Yeah.
That was my first impression when I met him the first year at the spring game, last year at the spring game, that he was just a normal guy. Came up to me and was talking just like a normal guy. So I like that. I like genuine people like that. All right. I guess we got some NFL.
How about the NFL's back with preseason football? I don't pay much attention to the preseason football.
Very first game, or was it the very first game? There was a game the other night. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was that. It was the Thursday night game last week, which was the first true preseason game. We had 2 players in that game. Within the first, couple minutes of the game, you heard both of their names because Matt Wright kicked off for Pittsburgh, and then Rashad Perryman was targeted like immediately. I think he caught the first pass of that game. I don't know too much about the stats, but I'm sure there's more. Well, here we go. Matthew Wright with the 42-yard field goal for the Steelers against the Bucks. That's what it was, the Bucks. I was thinking for some reason it was somebody else. I forgot. It's hard sometimes to remember where these guys go. So Perryman, I still think for some reason that he's with the Ravens, but he's with the Bucks.
He's been on a couple of teams since the Ravens.
Right.
Remember, we had him on a couple of weeks ago. We talked to him at Torian Wilson's camp. He was with the Browns.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then
the Browns.
for like a week and a half, he was a Redskin.
Right.
And now he's with the Bucks.
Yeah. So I think he has a little bit more of a chance with the Bucks. He was out there with the starters. And it seemed like they had him in the second wide receiver spot. Blake Bortles, 3 of 8 for 50 yards. The Rams against the Raiders. Latavius Murray, 3 carries for 14 yards and 3 catches for 22 yards with the Saints against his former team, the Vikings. Traquan Smith with 2 catches for 16 yards. And Rashard Kazi is back in the NFL, signing with Denver. He had just been cut by Atlanta.
We'd really like to see him hook on somewhere.
Oh, but not Denver.
Oh, yeah, that's
I
right.
hate
You hate
Denver and the Raiders. Finally got Latavius Murray a couple of years ago off the Raiders. I was happy about that, and now we have... And I'm not a big Rams fan. I've always pretty much hated the Rams because they were in St. Louis. And then last year they whooped my Chiefs. Well, they didn't really whoop them.
That was a great game.
That was a great game.
Yeah, it was
one of the
game.
best games if you like high scoring, because it was like 50-something to 50-something.
Yeah, it was a great game.
Went down to the wire. Yeah, but I just I don't like the Broncos. Ugh.
Again, I hope he hooks on somewhere.
Yeah, I just hate to see these guys on teams that I don't like. It's just personal. I'm just such a huge Chiefs fan, which will win the Super Bowl this year, by the way.
Well, that's why you loved Ja Reed so much when he was with the Chiefs.
Well,
yeah.
Until he sued the UCF. Anyway, whatever happened with that? I never heard anything more.
I forget now. I thought there was a settlement of some sorts. I don't remember.
I'm thinking it probably got thrown out like the other ones have.
I don't remember that
when
now.
they sue UCF.
A lot of information has passed through my brain since then.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
You know, our friend Jessica?
Yeah.
She's doing post-show reviews now. I like that.
Of our show?
Yeah,
nice.
She writes, loving how you guys are interviewing players from back in the day makes me realize how far our football program has come. The football program has grown so fast and has made it on the big stage in such a short time. This program has done more than a lot of Power 5 schools that have been around over 100 years.
That's good. That's good. That's a good. It's a good statement there.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica.
Thank you. Yeah.
Also, good timing. Good segue here. Our Jeff Allen is talking with the first running back to log a 100-yard game for the Knights. That was some 40 years ago. UCF celebrating the 40th anniversary team this upcoming season. We also have a lot of questions, as you know, on this camp on special teams. We're talking with the UCF special teams coordinator Nick Toth, as well as senior kicker Dylan Barnes. That all when Knightline number 197 returns.
Oviedo Brewing Company is the hottest microbrewery in Central Florida. Located 7 miles from UCF at the Oviedo Mall, this 8,800 square foot brewery just opened its doors 6 months ago and has already crafted 13 unique beer flavors and counting in their tap room. The tap room contains different styles of beverages, including ciders, wines, and craft sodas. Not only do they have amazing beers, they also have a full kitchen with gourmet pizzas, wings, and tacos. Oviedo Brewing has activities for each day of the week, such as Taco Tuesdays, Trivia Wednesdays, Pizza and Pint on Thursdays, plus live music on Friday and Saturday evening. But the best is Sunday brunch with unlimited beer mimosas. Need a spot for game day? Oviedo Brewing is just the place with their large TVs to catch all the live games. You will also find Oviedo Brewing at UCF tailgating sampling beers. And OBC support for the Knights doesn't stop there. If you need a spot for UCF away games, come to Oviedo Brewing Company, where the Knightline Sports Crew will be broadcasting live after the game. You can get all the details on their Instagram or Facebook page. Follow them at Oviedo Brewing CO. Download the Untapped app, and you can find out what beers are on tap. The food menu is also available on their website, oviedobrewingco.com.
You've heard us talk about the great food at our good friend Kyle Israel's restaurant, the Little Greek Fresh Grill. The Little Greek now has franchises available. Please call 407-697-2272. That's 407-697-2272 to see what the Little Greek can do for you. Also, check out the Little Greek's newest location at 6536 Old Brick Road in Windermere, Florida. The Little Greek Fresh Grill. Fresh, flavorful, fabulous. All right, the next thing here we got, you had a chance to talk to Nick Toth, the special teams coordinator, and he's kind of an interesting guy. I mean, he's been all over the place, and we don't really get to hear from him a lot and know a lot about him, but I know that he's a talker, and he's kind of an interesting talker.
Well, he's direct, too. And
Yeah.
again, another coach, I respect the fact he answers your questions, but you talk about variety in his background. He's been at Ohio as a defensive grad assistant. That's where he graduated from. Dakota State coached defensive backs. Back to Ohio, he coached tight ends, defensive line. Elon, defensive backs. Mercyhurst, defensive coordinator, defensive backs. Ashland, defensive coordinator. The Citadel, special teams, DBs. Texas A&M, special teams coordinator, outside linebackers. Fresno State, defensive coordinator, inside linebackers. Air Force, Spurs, and Nichols. He's coached a lot of different aspects of the game.
So the last place he was the Air Force
Air
Academy?
Force for a season. It was back in 2017. So this is entering his second season now with the Knights. And he, as you mentioned, is not somebody with the depth that UCF and the experience that UCF had a year ago that you really thought much about. Now he is a guy you're going to think more about as the season gets underway.
All right, well, let's hear what he had to say.
A lot of experience, but coming into special teams, what was that transition like for you going into last season?
You know what, the transition, getting to know the players is really the biggest thing, because it's all about personnel. Special teams is really not about scheme. It's about the guys that you got in the right spots. And so figuring out who we were was the toughest part of the transition, and it took us some time. Wasn't anything new. We knew it was going to happen. But you ask about what's the transition like. The difficulty is all that learning the guys, and then also getting around the staff and got a bunch of guys with a lot of background, a lot of really good experience. So grabbing that experience and adding it to what I had, as the plan, and making sure that we didn't just say, hey, this is what we have to be. There's a whole bunch of guys that could add to it. So doing that in a timely fashion, that was a big part of the transition as well. And then, having the guys build trust with the players with me, that was the other part. So you ask about what those like. That was three really big parts, but that made it, a heck of an experience. But it's challenging. The transition's always a challenge.
Helps to have a veteran group as you did last season.
No doubt. Yeah, when they can perform like that, when they're at a high level performance, then you're just trying to refine a little bit. You're not trying to change. Let them do what they do, and you see a little thing here or there that you can adjust to make them even better. That's great. But I didn't have to build anybody.
A lot of focus on the return game. Prior season, you have Mike Hughes go down in UCF history with electrifying return. And that's an area UCF fans were looking for more from in 2018. What were your challenges in that in the return game?
Yeah, I don't know if there was a challenge. I just don't think we did a great job executing. There was a lot of emphasis put on the change in the rules with the fair catch. I think that was, it's now a factor in coaching the team. So we got to get used to that here in year two. I just think we could have performed better fundamentally. I think we could have figured out our personnel better. I think we got better the second half of the year. We crack one versus Memphis as we get going later on in the year. But we got to be better. The fans want a better kickoff return team. I want a better kickoff return team. So we got players here. Part of the challenge is, though, when you have players, you're not going to get the kick you think you're going to get every time either. We'll line up and kick it to a team that's not very good over and over again because we know we can go get it. Well, a team that's dangerous, they're going to have to deal with a lot more in the return game. So that's the other facet, because the precedent had been set with Hughes. People aren't real fired up about kicking the ball to the same spot. So
you have a dynamic playmaker in Otis Anderson. How do you utilize him in special teams?
Yeah, well, he's a punt returner. He's a kick returner. He probably could be a lot of other things. He's not the only one. You bring up Otis, who did a really good job in punt return last year, but AK, Killens, you got Marlon Williams, Bentavious, who had a couple good kickoff returns last year. I think we just got to keep the rotation going. We got to keep the ball in all those different guys' hands. Try to play situational football, when the time is right. If a guy's coming off of a bunch of reps, let's make sure we're using the right guy. If we're trying to start a series a certain way on offense, make sure we're playing the right guy in the return game on punt return and kickoff return. So a little bit of coaching involved there, but get all of them the ball. Let all of them catch it as much as we can.
Describe the battle. It's early at kicker. You're having to replace the reliable cleats of Matty Ice.
Yeah, we got 3 really solid players there. Dylan Barnes is the senior member there. He's really similar to Matt, other than he's left-footed. He's a really consistent dude, on and off the field, high academic, high intellect, an everyday guy. He's kind of set the precedent for the next 2 guys, Connor Piazza and Daniel Barsky. Daniel just came in from Arizona with us this summer. They all have the ability to score points. The experience that we have with Dylan Barnes being a senior, obviously, gives himself a leg up just because it's not his first time. Although he hasn't kicked in games, he transferred here. He was a starting kicker before. He's gotten to be with Matt for 3 years and learn how to be him. So there's a huge bulk of experience there that even though he doesn't log a lot of game reps, we feel comfortable with that. Then you have the 2 young guys who have a really, really big leg. So it's going to continue to be a battle throughout camp. We'll probably know the answer before you do. I have a feeling that we've got a better idea than what the public will know for a while. But it's also possible as the year goes on, not because of output, but because of a plan that you might see multiple guys kick this year to make sure that we are developing experience for down the road, too. Dylan Barnes ends up being the senior kicker, starts this year. I'd rather not have a 3rd year in a row next year while having to get another guy ready to kick for the first time. So you'll see guys kick this year, regardless of whether we're making them or missing them. You're going to see a couple different guys kick.
What about the punter position?
Yeah, a huge benefit. Having Osteen from a year ago, let him watch Mac. Having Alan Curvin early in roll. He came here in January, went through spring ball. Both have tremendously live legs. The hands, people probably don't understand it. Catching the ball is really, you can't punt it unless you can catch it well and place it where you want it, in your drop. And so we're focusing on that because they're both really athletic dudes. Snapper's phenomenal. You're going to lead into that. But right now, both snappers are putting the ball where they need to be all the time. So that's kind of a blanket, a comfort blanket that both those punters are using to their advantage. And again, I think we'll have an idea who that guy is pretty quick. I don't know if you guys will.
At the end of spring camp, you said you can do all this practice, but until you're in a high-pressure situation, you're still not going to know. You try to simulate that as much as you can in practice and scrimmages.
Did again today. We had two different kicks today at the end of the game to win the end of practice to win the game. Guy's got to run on the field. He's cold. Well, not cold, but he's not playing and going to make the kick. That's the only way to do it. The only way to do it is to put them in those situations and also run really fast guys at them that want to block the kick. Make them hear loud noise around them while they're doing it. And then trust our training. Have faith in the players, and when we get under those lights, it'll go where it needs to go.
All right. Well, you
You like his voice?
Yeah. Well,
It's his football season voice.
yeah, because he's been yelling. He's been out there yelling. Obviously, that's what my voice sounds like certain days after football games.
Again, don't know how the kicking battle is going to shake out. We featured a soundbite from Coach Heupel earlier last week on a Knightline Now, where he said it's still too early to know. Still think, though, that this favors the upperclassman and senior Dylan Barnes. He's out of Merritt Island, so he's a local kid.
Oh, okay, cool. Right on.
A lot of emphasis on special teams with the turnover of players. How's camp going so far for you?
It's going good. It's a lot of fun. The guys are really meshing well. We're all working. We're all giving it a lot. So it's been a lot of fun so far. We're only in day 5 now of practice. So it's we're moving things along well, and it's a lot of fun. So.
It's been a different environment. You've had a stable, kicker, punter situation. You've been able to learn, though, watching. Mm-hmm. Talk about that experience of learning from Matt Wright.
Matt was great. Just being around him the way he was awesome. The way he, held himself up. It helped me mature in the way that I am now, and not, everything's, just be relaxed, just have fun with it, and every kick's the same. It's whether it's the first kick of the game or it's the last kick to win it. It's it's all the same, and it's all the same principle. So you just gotta have fun with it. And
during your high school years, what was the kicking situation like? Do you have any last-minute kicks or high-pressure kicks? Because you can tell fans want to know, okay, when it comes right down to it, can you make that big kick to win a game?
Actually, coming down to it, I can't remember. I think there might have been one. But yeah, it was high school there wasn't too many. We were pretty good. I was at Merritt Island, so it was we had a good situation, and how we played, it didn't necessarily come down to it, but it was, a couple minutes left. You needed to get some points on the board. It was I wouldn't say it was stressful, but it was needed to put us ahead or to keep us even further ahead. So.
Does being an upperclassman give you an advantage in this kicking competition?
Giving me an advantage, I don't know about that. It definitely gives me the experience of knowing what to expect when I come out in Spectrum or any other stadium in the country. Just being there and seeing and hearing all the sights and sounds, it's been, I've gotten to soak it all in and see what it's like and go from there. And now I've put myself in that position when we were there, just to kind of what it would be like, and now I'm here, so it's kind of surreal, but yeah, I think it gives me a little bit of an advantage.
After spring camp, coach said, well, you can do so much in practice, but until you really put the pressure on, are you starting to see that from the guys in camp, putting that pressure, putting you in those situations where you got to get off the kick?
I mean, yeah, you want to create as many situations as you possibly can to get the more experience. I think we've done, Coach Hype and Coach Toth have done well with, giving us a certain situation, and we got to go execute. Even when we come into the indoor towards the beginning of practice, we have certain situations where we're running from the sideline and trying to go make a kick. So we're practicing situations, and it's it makes things a little more fun. We get to have a little competition within the specialist group, so it's a lot of fun.
You got some young guys; they're also looking up to you to learn as well.
Yeah, Connor and Daniel are great. They both got big legs. They're both smart. They both want to learn, which is great. They wanting to learn I feel like it's a big thing, because if you don't want to learn, then you may not grow as much. But these guys they're willing to learn. They want to take feedback. They want to get better. So it's good to see what they want to do, and kind of the other side of it. Me being the older guy instead of the younger guy. It's a nice role change, and it's kind of cool to kind of give back to them instead of the other way.
So you become a bit of a mentor. Yeah,
I guess. We all try to tweak and say, oh, I think you might have done that there and done this here, and you kind of just shoot out ideas just to feed off of each other, and what we think might work or help. It's a lot of help, and it's a lot of fun within each other, because we're trying to push each other to get better and better, and it's going good. So,
what's your range?
God, probably around 55-ish is probably where I'm at. Yeah, I mean, there's no, I can hit 32 on the mark. No, it's depending on the day, and obviously the wind is a factor when it comes into that. But yeah, I'd say right around 55.
We won't hold you to that ish part. And what about last season, or what was it, the previous season, Matty Wright with a big tackle on special teams?
Yeah, that was. I think all of us ran onto the field after that one. That was kind of a fun, but also a scary moment, I guess you could say, because nobody wants to. Us kickers, we're all the last line of defense, and we don't necessarily tackle every day. So it's when somebody makes a tackle, it's a big deal for us. So it kind of makes things fun in the group, because we make fun of it, and if it's good or bad, we try to just give each other a hard time. So it's fun.
You looking forward to the season?
Without a doubt. It's the last one, so it's bittersweet. It's a lot of fun. It's also sad in a way, because me being a fifth-year senior, it's one last ride, so I got to make the most of it.
You've had some pretty good experiences during your time as a Knight, but there's more to come.
Without a doubt. Yes, sir.
All right. The next up here is Knightline Sports Network's Jeff Allen, who hosts the AAC report. Hopefully you all listen to that. Continues our look back at this year's 40th anniversary UCF football. This week, Jeff's talking with Mike Stapp, running back on that inaugural 1979 team.
Mike, thanks so much for joining us, and give us the details of your journey as to how you landed on UCF's very first football team in 1979.
Well, it's actually an interesting story. I was in a classroom, and I had Torchy Clark. Torchy was the head basketball coach at the time, and Torchy knew me from Bishop Moore High School. And when Jack O'Leary announced that they were going to have a football team, Torchy grabbed me at the class and walked me down to the end of the hall and introduced me to Jack O'Leary and said, well, I have your running back that's here. So, so you don't have to worry about that. So Torchy was really the one that kind of got me involved and made the introduction to Jack O'Leary. Then, of course, I actually knew Don Jonas because Don Jonas, my senior year in high school, I actually played quarterback in high school my senior year, but we were a running team. And Donnie was our quarterback coach at Bishop Moore High School when I played for Harry Nelson. So it's interesting. I mean, Donnie, at that time, the head coaching position had not been filled. So I had no idea that Donnie was going to be coaching. So it just kind of all came together. Torchy made the introduction, and then Coach Jonas, after they announced, and he reached out to me, and then kind of the rest is history.
So you were on board before the coach was. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing. I mean, when they first announced it, like I said, Torchy was in Torchy's class, his coaching theory class, and then I guess maybe he knew about it because of Jack O'Leary or something, and just kind of at the end of class walked me down in the education building over and made the introduction to Coach O'Leary, and like I said, the rest is kind of history as to how things worked out.
Yeah, and so Torchy was not only a great basketball coach, but he had an eye for football talent too. So that is great. So
well, I don't know if you knew this about Torchy. Torchy actually won a state championship at Xavier High School in Wisconsin, and he actually was the head football coach for Rocky Blyer.
Wow.
Who played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So people didn't realize that about Torchy, and people will tell you that he was probably a better football coach than he was a basketball coach, which is quite a statement based on the success he had in basketball. But no, he coached Rocky Blyer. He won state football and basketball championships at Xavier High School.
That's pretty amazing. So as this team gets together for the first season, as you guys were getting out there, did you really kind of think you were about to make a landmark that would be what it was years down the road? Were you just anxious to get playing football?
Well, I think, we had some discussions about that. I mean, after we started playing during the football season, we'd be waiting to play on a Saturday, and then you'd have the normal college football that would be on, and we'd be traveling in one of our away games, and we'd be saying, boy, it'd be something that sometime in the future in our lifetime, that UCF, is going to be competing against the Florida States and the Floridas and being in bowl games, and, look at what actually ended up happening. So, I think that was a dream. We were I think all of us at that point were just glad to be part of it. We knew, it was interesting when we went out to the first practices, we knew we had some athletes because you could just tell. And my freshman year, I'd actually played at Georgia Tech and come back to UCF. I'd had a knee injury. Mm-hmm. And, you could just tell with some of the talent that was out there, that you had. I think we had over 100 guys try out. But, some of the names that you had heard, Tommy Sparks and Ed Gantner, so you knew you had some talent out there. But who knew our first year we'd be 6-2? That was kind of, we had no idea what we were up against, and it ended up working out fantastic for everybody.
And you recorded the first 100-yard rushing game for the Knights. Do you remember that vividly?
Oh, yeah, it was funny because I think the first 5 or 6 plays of the game, we either ran off tackle, counter trap, or things like that. And, and I used to bust Mike Cullison's tail because I said, Mike, you run me between the 10-yard line and the 10-yard line, and then we get down on the 10, and coach has something called, and you always check out of it, and throw a touchdown pass or run yourself. So, we ran the ball. When I look back at that, we had a pretty good size, offensive line with our tackles. So, and we had some guys that had played. So, I think Coach Jonas's idea, because it was rainy, of course, the first game against St. Leo.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I think from a game planning standpoint, we ended up going more to the run than what probably potentially we would have thrown the ball just because of the weather conditions. But, it worked out great.
Is there one play in particular that you relive over and over again?
Well, it was interesting. I think the first play, actually, the first play was like a 9 or 10 yard playoff tackle, and just, getting back in a game situation, and hitting someone and having contact, it just kind of always takes the edge off. And it was amazing how quick that feeling came back, and, just kind of the adrenaline rush. So I would tell you the first play of the game, that I remember is the one I remember, and just getting that first hit and saying, oh my God, there was a hole there the first play, and we were fortunate to gain some yardage and do some things. So, it was really, really, that's probably the one I remember the most. You have other ones, but that's the first one.
Yeah, so UCF has had a tradition of having a great history of running backs. Who are the guys that you have admired over the seasons?
Well, it's amazing because since we played, and I played the first 2 years, and I go back and I remember watching in the games because me and my family, we've been season ticket holders since I graduated in 1981, but I go back and I think of, even back to the Willie Englishes and the Mark Giacones, and I mean, those are some of the ones that we had back in the 90s. And then, you go through the ones lately. I mean, you've had Latavius Murray. I mean, Coach O'Leary, his mindset was to run the ball. You had Kevin Smith, of course, who's the all-time leading rusher. But even going back, in the previous years, I mean, you had Robert Ector. You're right. You had a lot of really good running backs that were, very, very successful. And what's nice is every spring when we have the alumni golf tournament, which is the Friday before the spring game, it's really nice to see. We have a really good turnout. It's nice to see, those guys be involved and still with the university.
Yeah, Marquette Smith being another one. I mean, we could run names off
Marquette,
forever.
Yeah, because I remember Marquette. He went to Lake Howell High School.
Yep.
He was a parade All-American. Of course, went to Florida State. And then ended up coming down. So yeah, that's another one that was just, he had the records and just the history of how successful he had been, and he continued that at UCF. So, and I think he's still living in the community here.
Yes. So, as a proud alumni, and you've seen the last 2 seasons of the 25-1 run over the last 2 years, UCF has become a national brand, getting attention all over the place. That's got to be such a great feeling for not just an alumni, but a guy who was there when it first started.
It's, I have my UCF National Championship T-shirt, that we bought after, of course, after the game at the Peach Bowl, and a lot of pride, and it's amazing. I was actually flying back from Atlanta last weekend, and I had just a UCF shirt on. And I had 2 or 3 people come up to me and just make comments to me about, how successful the program has become. And, and I got to credit Danny White from the marketing standpoint and really what he's done from, the hiring of coaches, football, yes, but all the way throughout the entire campus. We've got some of the best in class when you talk about basketball last year with Johnny Dawkins, but it's really a sense of pride. And now we're on the map. I was actually watching ESPN the other night, and I saw the interview where Scott Van Pelt was actually talking with Mackenzie Milton.
Mm-hmm.
And spent some time going through, kind of the injury and kind of wishing him luck. Well, I mean, years ago, you never would have had that. But you just look at the success we've had. And I think the mindset is what, Coach Frost and then Coach Heupel has brought on is just, one game at a time. And the kids, it's a great culture. And I think that is so key. And I think it's going to continue. I think we're going to have another tremendous year this year.
And we're going to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the very first game that you were a part of. And how do you think the Knights are going to do this season?
I think we're going to do well. I think it'll be interesting to see the quarterback situation, of course, and everybody's, that's probably the key thing. But I think also when you look at the talent we have at receiver and the talent we have at running back, I think the key for us is really going to be also the defensive line, because we graduated some good players from there last year. But I think we're going to do really, really well. I think the Stanford game is going to be a test, and I'm looking forward to that, because then maybe we can perform well and hopefully win. And then just everybody makes the comment about the strength of schedule, and I'm so tired of hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at how we competed against Pittsburgh last year and beat them, extremely. I think we beat them by 25 or 30.
Yeah, easily.
But I think we have a chance to repeat and do the same things that we've done, the last 2 years. I would not be surprised. That's going to be difficult because everybody's shooting at you because you're the number one guy. But I think it's conceivable in our conference to go undefeated again. But again, I think that mindset of one game at a time is critical. But I think the kids, when you have that sense of teamwork and they've got each other's back covered, which I sense when I see the practices and talk to various people who are involved in the program, I think those are the intangibles that that I think are going to make a difference for us.
Well, Mike, we certainly appreciate you taking the time to share your memories and give us your thoughts about UCF football. And again, happy anniversary for the very first game 40 years ago. Appreciate it.
Great. Go Knights. Thank you.
All right, well, that was cool to hear from him. I think it's great that he's getting those interviews with these guys from the 40th anniversary team. Can you imagine 40 years? It's
episode number 2,907 of Knightline.
And we'll be talking to like Mackenzie Milton 40 years from now.
Oh, goodness.
He'll be a coach with national championship wins, right?
For UCF.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Also, like we said before, Jeff does the AAC report on the Knightline Sports Network here, and here is what he's got coming up this week.
Coming up on this week's AAC report only on the Knightline Sports Network, we will continue our team-by-team previews of the American for the 2019 season. We'll be joined by Bubba Rosenbaum of the Sports Objective podcast in North Carolina to break down East Carolina for 2019, as well as Billy and Body of the Pony Stampede podcast in Dallas to take a look at SMU for the upcoming season. And we have a very special guest joining us, one of the preeminent voices in college football, Tim Brando of Fox Sports. He'll be here to talk UCF, the AAC, and the Neanderthals that run the college football playoff, as only Timmy B can break it down. I'm Jeff Allen. Be sure to join us for this week's AAC report only on the Knightline Sports Network.
So we said Tim Brando, the
Tim Brando. He
Yeah,
had Phil Steele a couple weeks ago.
You texted me that, and I said, "Dang!" I may have used another word. I was
Dang.
I was a little surprised. Tim Brando, that's pretty good.
Yeah, he told me that he was working on something big, and I thought, you just had Phil Steele. I love it. Jeff is doing a great job. This has, I love this show. This is a good show, and since I decided to have more shows on the Knightline Sports Network and make it the Knightline Sports Network, this show was the one that I really wanted in the first place when I was thinking about all this. Not that I don't love the Sons of UCF. That's awesome. It's another UCF show, and they do a great job as well, but I always had this vision of having an AAC show to talk about all the teams. And of course, Jeff is one of us. He's a Knight, but he does a great job of bringing in all the rest of the stuff. And he's got a heck of a Rolodex. I mean, because he gets these guys that we've
Tim
had.
Brando.
And, we never tried to get Tim Brando. I've had a lot of the other guys on, but we've had a lot of the other guys. But wow, that was a good one. So I'm looking forward to that. It's actually already out because I actually put it out today. Or before we started this. So.
Yeah, we threw things off a little bit.
It was off a little bit. Yeah, you were traveling, so that's why. But here we are. So
big thanks to Laura at LBar87 who writes on our Twitter, Trace needs a raise. I take that directly to you, Andrew Phegley. I support Laura's position. She was commenting on the little video tease I did from inside the practice facility. Great. Thank you for posting that.
You're welcome.
I second this motion
Well,
that Laura has raised.
You get paid infinite amounts of money.
Infinite.
Yeah.
Infinite. I cannot cash those checks anymore. Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Let's see. Where are we? How did Andrew?
If I could pay you what you're worth, Trace.
Oh, my goodness.
I would be broke.
And that compliment keeps us going for the rest of this show.
Yeah.
How did Andrew get involved in following UCF? See, got new listeners, new people
I've
all
told
the time.
the story before, but we'll say
that
it
is
again.
an Ask Knightline when Knightline number 197 returns. Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
Hey Night Nation, it's Adam from the Sons of UCF. Be sure to check out our show every Wednesday only on the Knightline Sports Network. Now, back to two guys who probably won't be Cow of the Week nominees, Andrew and Trace.
Ask a Knightline is brought to you by Chad Barr Law. Chad is a UCF alumnus and diehard Knights fan. Chad Barr Law handles auto accident, slip and fall, and personal injury cases. Call Chad today at 407-599-9036 for a free consultation. That's 407-599-9036. Armor up and call Chad Barr Law today.
Time again for Ask Knightline, answering the questions you posed to us on our Facebook page or via Twitter at #AskKnightline. Richard on Facebook asking about Brandon Winbush, who started against Stanford in 2017, lost 38-20. He says, could it be an advantage for him with UCF? I think too much time is removed from that. And you heard coaches earlier say 25% of the team turns over. So I don't know how much of an advantage that gives him.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess he would have, if he's the starter, number one, I guess maybe he would have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because he, lost to that team at one point. I don't know.
I don't think it makes much of a difference.
I don't think so either.
At JP Gilbert, who's the starting quarterback? I'll hang up and listen.
I think we've been over this. We don't know. Nobody
Who do you
knows.
think's going to be the starter? That's the question. Game 1, FAMU, 17 days away. Who runs out?
I'm going to
starter?
stick with Dylan Gabriel.
You're going with Dylan Gabriel?
Yep.
Shocking. At D_, a lot of letters, HIERONIMUS, Hieronymus?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Which incoming freshman do you think has the best chance to get a starting role by the end of the season, or will see the most playing time? Oh, boy.
Well,
let me guess.
Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, shocker.
Number one. And then another guy that I really want to see is this Traymon Morris Brash, defensive lineman. He was the guy, if you remember, that was very highly touted coming from D.C. area. He was the number 3 player in D.C., from ESPN. Number 26 defensive end in Rivals. And he was the one that announced at the whatever that Gatorade thing was that they had at the Citrus Bowl down there. So he's kind of a highly touted guy, and I'd love to see him, play some and just see what we got, because we don't get a lot of those guys that are made a big deal of. So he's definitely one of them. So I'd like to see if we got what our money's worth.
Got to study this question a little bit more, but for right now, I'm going to say somebody on special teams. Punter maybe.
Well,
that big leg kicker, Daniel Barsky, who may see him on kickoffs. We'll see how much of a mix he gets into on extra
we got
points
a lot
or
of
field
good
goals.
players this time, though. I mean, this was a very, very good recruiting class. So there's going to be names that will be household names to us after this season for sure. I guarantee it.
At Golden Knight _ the second may not be a very popular question, but if we were to lose 1 to 2 games, which teams do you think that
We're not even
going
to talk about that. Not even going to talk about that. Not going to answer that because we're not going to lose 1 or 2 games. We're not. It is not a popular question. Thank you for your question. I'm not trying to diss you, but we're not going to talk about that because we're going to be positive And that's the way that we're going to think about it.
To answer this question?
Yes, and we're not doing it. So, sorry. Thank you for your question.
I will reply to you on Twitter at @golden_2.
Well,
I don't want to jinx it here.
Yeah, you're jinxing
I'm
it
jinxing
there,
it there?
then. Yeah. We don't want to talk about losing.
Okay.
Why would we pick a game that we're going to lose? We haven't even made our season predictions.
Well, we're not
yet.
allowed to. No, well, we know what yours are going to be. 14-0.
Absolutely.
That's what yours are going to be.
Yeah.
Well, we answered that question about the hurricane. Which game could be hurricane down?
Okay, whatever. Answer the question.
No,
I don't care. But
I'm not
if
gonna
we lose
now,
games, it's your fault.
No, I'm not going to answer that question.
Golden Knight 2 right now. It's your fault if we lose some games. So you brought it up.
I'm not going to answer because I.
Thank you for your question, though. Love you.
I do believe a little bit in jinxing. At
I do too,
W Pearl
big
Brock
time.
4, longtime listener, but has he really been listening? This is my question.
I know.
Have
Because
never
how
heard
many
of-
times have I said this?
Every week. But anyway, I digress. Longtime listener, but never heard of Andrew's connection to UCF. How did Andrew get involved following UCF coming from Kansas? Good thing you didn't choose West Central Florida. That's for sure.
That's true.
Can you imagine doing this? You're doing this show over there.
Ugh. I wouldn't have.
Ugh.
Wouldn't have. So my wife went to UCF, graduated in the 90s, and she took me right when I met her. It was one of our first outings together, like something cool besides like an actual date. She took me to a UCF game. I told her about playing football and stuff. Hey, you want to go see a college football game? And I'm like, okay, Florida State, something like that, And she's like, no, UCF. And I'm like, who? Literally, I had no idea. I'd never even heard of UCF before. And, they're right here in Orlando. And I'm like, what? Because I'd only lived here like 6 months probably when I met her. And she took me to a UCF game. I believe that it was in 2010. It was 2010, and it was the Rice game at home here. And I absolutely loved the environment, the bounce house. I fell in love with it completely. And from then on, ever since we went to that game, we were season ticket holders. And a few seasons passed, obviously, and I was looking for more information about UCF. This is more of the story about how I started Knightline in 2014. I saw that it was getting rolling really, pretty good after that 2013 season. Was really excited and just wanted to get as much UCF information as I could, and so I started Knightline because I couldn't find very much. So I thought that there needed to be another vessel for information.
It's pretty powerful. The vessel.
But anyway, she took me to a game, and I literally had no idea that
what
UCF
she
existed.
has created.
So
what she inspired.
So unfortunately, I've learned a lot about the history of UCF, but I only started in 2010. But I think that I've done pretty well learning, some history and the players and stuff that we've had through the years. And there's a lot more for me to learn. That's why I love these media guides that come out, because they've got all of it. It goes all the way back.
Well, in between the interviews that we do and the Sons of UCF do, and Jeff Allen's doing with the 40th anniversary team, you can kind of span the time frames there, because all sorts of different interviews in that mix.
I think when I went to the stadium the first time, I saw the I don't know what they call it here. It's not the Ring of Honor or anything. I don't think it is. They have the names of players, and I didn't know that Dante went here. I didn't know that Asante Samuel went here. I didn't know any of that. So Kevin Smith. You're
a convert.
Totally, 100%. But I'm still a Jayhawk at heart as well, so if we ever wind up in the Big 12 with them, that will be interesting.
Yeah, that'll cause you a challenge or two, but
I
be a ways from that.
Yeah, and I would never, I have two teams. I would have to wear one of those jerseys with one on the front and one on the back, or cut in half or something if we ever played them. I think that was a question a long time ago, what would happen if we joined the Big 12 and all that. But anyway,
you found a way to drag getting to know you into the Ask Knightline. See, we end that segment after the summer, and yet
I come up with stuff all the time. I had one for this episode as well.
We know enough. And now you, W. Pearl Brock 4, now know the rest of the story of Andrew.
And now the rest of the story.
Everybody, thank you for your questions. We will get to more coming up on the next all-new edition of Knightline number 198. We should just do a segment sometime during the week where we just take questions live or something, or do a little Twitter thing or a Facebook chat or something.
We could do that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
What do you think if we did Knightline every night? Like a nightly show?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, there's so much content, though.
It's a lot
during
of work.
football season. Yeah, well, there's that.
There's that.
There's that.
It's a lot of work already, so.
Well, until I get paid more, Laura, I'm not. No, but anyway.
Nice.
Thank you, everybody, for your questions.
And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports.
Men's basketball splits the first two games of its tour of Spain. UCF beat the Madrid Generals 94-70, but fell 85-83 to the Valencia All-Stars. Up next, the final game in Barcelona, August 13th. Seems like I'm going to have to bring back Knightline Planner because we're starting to have some games on the schedule.
Yeah. This is the easiest one I've ever had. Women's soccer loses 3-0 in an exhibition game at Alabama.
You know, if only it mattered to us, if we only wanted to play that game with the same passion. Men's soccer. How about this? Checking in at number 15 in the United Soccer Coaches preseason poll. By the way, would make them the highest ranked team on the campus. More than the football team.
That's true. Yeah. Women's tennis welcomes. Oh, boy. And now I had the easy one, and now you give me this. Women's tennis welcomes two transfers. Evangelina Levashova comes to UCF from Pepperdine, and Nadia Bay arrives in Orlando from whatever that is in Spain, someplace. Castle de Fels. Castle de la Fels. I don't know.
You get an easy one, then you get a hard one. Baseball. We talked about this just last week. UCF makes it official, though. Ted Tom back with the Knights as an assistant coach. Welcome back, Ted.
Absolutely. And finally, UCF Cybersecurity Competition Team, part of the university's Collegiate Cyber Defense Club, finished third in the Cyber Games in Las Vegas. The competition features college teams squaring off in an industry-specific cyber attack scenario in a video game-like setting. That's pretty cool.
And all-ladies team.
Yeah, we do quite a good job in the cybersecurity thing. I think we were national champions a couple of years ago in that as well, so... All right, this has been Knightline 197. I'm Andrew Phegley.
I'm Trace Trylko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
UCF, charge on to the field. With our spirits, we'll never yield. Black and gold charge right through the line. Victory is our cry, B-S-E-T-O-R-Y.